26 seconds. 26 seconds.
We're very happy that you're all here so that you can learn a lot about what each organization does, because there's many aspects that needs to happen for one child to be rescued and saved. We need to work in prevention, which some of these organizations do, and I'll let you hear from them in a little while. Rescue, restoration, reintegration, and prosecution. It takes all of those areas. It's a big issue, and it really does take an army, and it takes a village to save one child.
This happens everywhere around the world, right? And it's happening right now. Right now at this time, about almost 8 o'clock, we have girls that are right now here in Orange County that are getting ready to be forced to lay on their back 10 to 15 times a night. That's our reality. While we're sitting up here talking about awareness and, talking about this amazing film, at the same time, right, as we all go home tonight, they're all going to be out there to be forced and have to work. And I tell you that because how many of you guys in here are parents today? Any parents? It was not the lack of support, it was a lack of communication that I had with my mother. Those conversations that my mother was so afraid of having, that we should have had about what happens when the street lights went off, we didn't have those conversations. I was physically abused at a young age and molested from 9 years old to about 10. I was gang raped by a local community. And I think the biggest part of my life, regardless of the abuse and regardless of the molestation and rape, it was the fact that I was now not having a voice at 9 years old. For the fact that I couldn't talk to anyone about that. I couldn't come home and talk to my mom about what happened after this hospital ride. And then turning 10 years old and still having to figure out, guess what? I'm an African-American girl, I'm young, I go to the school, I don't fit in, I don't like where I'm going, I'm trying to figure myself out. Hey, I just found out I'm adopted. Trying to figure out how to be a girl in society. And I can only imagine what it's like for our kids today, trying to figure themselves out. At 11 years old, I was put into the system, I was put on probation, had certain stipulations to where I had to do community service for 147 hours at 11 years old. I ended up doing that community service at a local library right off of a track where girls are, forced into sex. And that's where I met this friend, this young girl that, became my best friend, somebody that I could confide in. And she was not my exploiter, she was not my recruiter, someone that brought me into life, she was simply my friend. And had no idea that the day that I ran away to her house, that she had handed me to someone that would exploit me for 4.5 years. But it is very hard for anyone, even service providers and me now being an advocate and working with kids under the age of 18, of what their normal is every day. And for 4 years of my life, the best way I can tell you of what a day in the life looks like, for 4 years, not even 7, right? God bless someone who has been raped once. God bless their soul and their spirit, and I just give that all to God. But for someone at 11 years old to lay on their back to 10 to 15 times a night, to be violently raped over and over again, that was my normal. My normal was getting hit upside my head with any object that man could pick up. And if I didn't make a quota, the amount of money that he wanted me to make, whatever consequence came with that, whether that was sleeping in my urine or being beaten to a pulp or sitting in an ice bath, or whether that was not eating for a couple of days or having to travel in the trunk of a car, that was my normal. That's my normal for the kids I work with every single day. A kid that I just visited in ICU tonight. That is their normal. That is their normal tonight. There is no different way that I can explain of what the life looks like and how it is every single day.
Last month, I trained 20 family practice residents in Long Beach and 8 of their faculty. Now, these doctors, young doctors, are going to finish their residency and go to 20 different places around the U.S. Why is that important? Because we have evidence that shows that victims of trafficking were seen by a healthcare professional and they were invisible. No one identified them. We could have intervened sooner. And with the research study that was done, the first study showed 87% of sex trafficking victims had seen a healthcare provider.
And it's 6 o'clock in the morning. And I'm coming out of that motel room hungry, probably trying to hurry up and get something to eat before my pimp comes. And I walk into McDonald's. or the donut shop. That was my favorite place. And people, society, people in the community looked at me with disgust. This 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid. Not one person ever in my life had ever interfered and said, hey kid, are you okay, or is there anything I can do for you? It took 4 years of hell, 4 years of abuse, 4 years of not even feeling like a number, but feeling like you're the scum of the earth.
Getting out is probably the biggest thing. You have to understand the timing of it. You have to understand the trauma that's operating, because there she's wanting to get out. She might even be crying, but she's telling you she can't go because her trafficker or her pimp has her phone. But you have to understand, there's a whole lot of trauma that she's been through about that phone. There's a whole lot of things connected to that phone. That's why the trafficker takes it. So one of the things that we do, we work locally, nationally, and internationally. So we're here locally in Orange County. We work the track in Santa Ana. I'm a retired police officer from Santa Ana. So when I came here, I started in '78. Another agency came here in '82. Our approach from law enforcement isn't working because it's still going on, right? And so what I have suggested over and over and over again to law enforcement and to the city of Santa Ana is that you've got to change your mode. If it's not working, let's stop doing it.
The challenge with the laws, though, are a lot of people get very worked up about what we can do, for instance, for the guys who buy sex. And I'll just tell you now that the idea, they'll say, for instance, a guy who buys sex, he should be able to go to prison. He's not going to go to prison. It's a misdemeanor. It's a 6-month max. And by the way, he's probably not going to serve a day in jail, right? Or if he does, it's going to be a few days. It'll be less than 10 days. Out of the 10, he'll get a 10-day sentence. Out of that, he'll serve 3 to 5 days, right? If that's not community service, okay? So the reality is we live in California. The struggle that I'm in is I hear, well, that sentence sounded low, or man, this is a big deal. This guy got a 10-year sentence. So I'll give you an example. Show of hands, who thinks that human trafficking is considered a serious crime in the state of California? Who thinks it's a serious crime? Okay? Okay. Who thinks it's a violent crime? Okay, guess what? It's not a serious or violent crime in the state of California. Okay? The legislature has deemed it to be a non-serious, non-violent felony. What does that mean? Well, here's what that means. Most of the people in this room probably voted for Prop 47, Prop 36, and Prop 57. The Penal Code actually defines crimes that are serious and violent. Human trafficking is not one of them. Domestic violence is not one of them. So when you passed Prop 57, and when I say you, I mean the state of California, that meant that people who committed domestic abuse with corporal injury would get out and serve less time. So I get a 10-year prison sentence on that guy. He is eligible to be released in 3 years. All right, so I'll give you a good example of where this really frustrates me. I had a defendant who I put in prison for 6 years. I could talk for an hour about the lengths that we went to just get that little 6-year sentence. All right, we did a lot. He got out and he served 2. He got out in February and he went right back to the same girls he was pimping the first time. We just arrested him again, and now I'm going at it again. All right, so that's just the challenges that we have in the state. But if you feel strongly about it, harass your legislator. Be like, hey man, what are you doing about this? I just saw you voted no on this. Why? Right? Like, how could you vote no on this? And I'm just curious, as your constituent, why would you vote no on this? That kind of thing. And that should happen because we're a democracy. And that's how we function, right? It's important to what we are. So my best answer to you, I give a long-winded answer, and really what I'm saying is just contact your politicians. They work for you, and they should work for you.
I'm highlighting all the nonprofit Christian organizations that are doing the work. So I think that if people are aware, they just need to know where to go. Well, now I've highlighted about 30 organizations in my documentary, so now they know where to go.
So there are so many ways to plug in. Obviously, our Orange County Human Trafficking Task Force has an official way to become a volunteer. They have a faith-based advisory committee, and they absolutely do amazing work here.
IGM partners with local authorities to rescue victims, bring criminals to justice, restore survivors, and strengthen the justice system in those countries. According to the 2016 Global Slavery Index, they estimated that today there are 45.8 million slaves in the world today. The types of slavery are sex trafficking, child trafficking, forced labor, bonded labor or debt bondage, domestic servitude, forced child labor, and unlawful recruitment and use of child soldiers. IGM's mission is to rescue thousands, protect millions, and prove that justice for the poor is possible.
My name is Karen Bowling. I'm part of the Imagine Foundation. I'm a volunteer. But I have taught our Mirror and our Freedom course since about 2008 in our community. It teaches healthy self-esteem and identity and resilience. And I've had the opportunity to teach in high schools and junior highs and elementary schools and sororities, but more recently we've been able to launch the program in Orangewood and teaching the kids there, their ages 10 to about 18, about their value and about their worth and about the choices that they are able to make.
Orangewood is a local foundation. We serve foster youth, we serve at-risk youth, and we've been serving young girls and children who have been sex trafficked for years now. About 2-3 years ago, we decided to open a home. There wasn't one available where you can have a young adult go live and get the proper care they need, I would say, the trauma-informed care. We were blessed enough to get the house donated. It's in a confidential location in Orange County. And obviously you need 24/7 care. You need trauma-informed therapists. You need trauma-informed everything. And it's such a process to heal.
My name is Brenda Jimenez. I'm with Refuge for Women, and we are a faith-based nonprofit organization with homes, safe homes, for adult women, 18 and over.
It is about having that place where they have, again, the trauma-informed care, but it's about having that safety. It's about having that love. It's about having that opportunity to heal and to have a chance at a new life.
Fighting Freedom has been around for about 10 years, and we are involved in the restoration and education of safe houses. A restoration for the kids, for these girls, and the education for the safe houses. And we spend over a year working with each house that we have. And we're in 9 different countries right now, and we've had about 1,000 kids go through the program in some way or another. Connection and education is huge. And if the kids feel like you care about them, things change.
So Destiny Rescue is an international Christian-based organization that's dedicated to rescuing and restoring these kids, giving them their dignity back so that they can go on to live out the God-given destiny they have for them. Our organization, we have undercover agents that go in undercover, risking their lives to find these kids and then offer them rescue. We work with anti-trafficking police to do raids, but we also work independently from them, building trust with victims so that when we offer rescue, they have the courage to step out with us and to leave. Since 2011, we've rescued over 2,600 children. We're rescuing kids literally every day.
My film is not only about highlighting the nonprofit Christian organization so that people know where to go so that they can step up and help, but it really is about the girl's voice.